Believe it or not, this video is about knitting socks. The dog and I are about to go for our ride run. Me on my scooter and her running with me. But this is about socks. Couple of decisions. I woke up again in the middle of the night and decided that the sewing machine I need to keep with me is my 1937 Singer Model 1588. And that is because it sewed through my sweater quilt when I was making that without a problem. And if it can handle that, it can handle just about anything. Now, the other thing is, I think I came to that decision because I may have to leave the treadle in storage for a while. But in the meantime, I was using the treadle for physical therapy because I have a leg problem. And the leg problem has gotten worse, so I have to get healthy and fit. So I'm riding my scooter, I'm going to be jumping rope, and I'm going to be riding my bike. I have to get really healthy. I have socks coming out of my ears. And do you know what socks feel best? I just put a pair on, and it's unbelievable. These are knit pink socks. They're size 8 needles, ribbing. You would think they were too thick for sneakers or walking shoes, and they're not at all. And the reason I'm starting it this way is because I'll show you the pattern book. I've shown it before. They're very easy to knit. There's no heel. They are simply ribbing, and like I said, I'll show you the pattern, but they are absolutely cushioned socks. So I'm off for my ride and run, and when we come back I'll show you the pattern. Okay, we are back, and this is the book, Teach Yourself to Knit the Easy Way, Columbia-Minerva. It's a wonderful book, and it's a vintage book. You'll have to look for it on eBay or Etsy. I have two copies. One is a working copy. As you can see, the cover is kind of coming unattached, and the other one is a better copy. Now, these all the directions in here are very simple to make items. A ponytail hat, a dog sweater, a shoulder shawl, and I'm thinking of making that because one of my problems with shawls is that I either wear ponchos, sweaters, or when I wear a shawl, if there's fringe on it, I'm often near the stove, and I'm always afraid the fringe is going to, you know, get too hot or get on fire. So I'm thinking of making one of those. Hat and mitten sets. Now these, the style on these is dated, but you know, that's actually a wonderful hat style because in my case, I like to cover my ears. I used to have earaches. I like to cover my ears, and but not necessarily always have a heavy hat on. So this is a good style. It's more than a headband, but not a full hat either. And it's even, you know, it's pretty in that argyle pattern. But here are the socks, and there's no heel in them. They fit any size. Very simple to make. The directions are here. You need 4 ounces of worsted weight yarn and size 8 needles. And you simply cast on 32 stitches and knit 2, purl 2 for the length of 18 inches. Then there is a way that they have to end it. Let me see. Once you reach 18 inches, next row, knit 2 stitches together, purl 2 stitches together, repeat across until you have 16 stitches remain. Break the yarn, leaving a strand about 1 yard long. Draw yarn through the 16 stitches on needle to form a ring, then draw yarn through the same stitches again to reinforce the ring. Sew seam at back of sock. Now, so you'll be using straight needles, and you're going to be knitting for 18 inches, and then when you gather it at that's the toe, so you're gathering and reinforcing the toe, and then you just stitch up the seam, and you have a pair of socks. So very easy pattern. If there is a copyright still on this, it belongs to them, obviously. It doesn't seem to be a date as to when this was published. Photography by. So let's just assume this is their copyright. No abbreviations. Very easy patterns to knit. I just want to see if there's a date on here. I don't see one. I know it's vintage, but they may have reprinted it. So all copyrights are for them. And buy the book and have the pattern yourself. And the reason I'm saying, I had sports socks on. I've had this leg problem, and I've been using my treadle. I went to the doctor. The doctor said he thought it was a pinched nerve. I went to the neurologist. The neurologist said it's actually just muscles. So what the plan is now is for me to come up with my own little fitness plan, and if that doesn't correct the problem, I have to get physical therapy. So I have 3 things planned, as I said: my scooter, my bike, and jumping rope. Now, on my Cape Cod Knit Twitter feed, I found a wonderful jump rope video, and I don't know how the girl does it, but it's a 10-minute workout with a jump rope. And if that doesn't help my legs, I don't think anything will. But I had sports socks on earlier this morning, and you know, these are my walking shoes. I'm waiting for a new pair of sneakers to get here because you know, sneakers have become so expensive in the past like 10 years. You used to be able to buy a really good pair of sneakers for like $25 or $30, and I had to just pay $80 for what looked like to be really good sneakers. So but because, you know, if your feet are off, then your back is off, then your legs are off. So anyway, there's some investment there. And so this morning I had my walking shoes on and sports socks, and I figured, well, this should be fine. And yet, as soon as I put on my other socks, knit like this, it was like I was walking on cushions. Now, I've always used these as bed socks because they're, or boot socks, because they're thick and they're warm, and the pink ones I have on are knit in Red Heart Super Saver acrylic worsted weight yarn, and they're wonderful. But I didn't think of wearing them with sneakers or walking shoes. I did wear them a couple of times, but not for fitness. You know, I wore them with these kinds of shoes a couple of times, but not for fitness. But I have to tell you, having a leg problem and knowing that my feet and my socks are going to be very important, the difference I felt in a ribbed sock, the socks I had on before were very thick terry sport socks. These are like walking on air. So I am now going to be knitting these again in Red Heart Super Saver acrylic because, you know, they're probably going to get used a lot, and I don't want to use my better wools on them. And I'm going to see how they do as a sports sock. So Columbia-Minerva, Teach Yourself to Knit the Easy Way. Even if you know how to knit, it's really a wonderfully basic book where everything is fairly simple. and easy to understand, and even if you're an experienced knitter, that makes it fast, so you can get something done sooner. Now, the other thing on the Singer Model 1588, this is my sewing pile, and I've got to make some things for the dog, some sweatshirts, some pants for myself, some dog toys. But this is one of the reasons I'm choosing the 1588. My 237 is right here as a backup. This one is electric. I'll probably keep it with me, but I would rather use a treadle or a hand crank if I can. The treadle may have to go in storage. So the 1588 is going to be, I think, my main machine as a hand crank. Now this is a Nellie B weaving loom square, and this is going to be a sweater for a 15-inch doll. But the reason I'm pointing this out now and why I'm picking the 1588, it's one of the machines that has 30 stitches per inch. And when you're sewing knits or yarn wovens, I had to add seam tape here because this is actually going to be a cardigan, and I have to go over it again. But I've got seam tape sewn on there at 30 stitches an inch. And when you're sewing with yarn, you really need that high stitch count in order to make sure that you grab every little strand. When I cut this, it's going to be fringed in a sense, and that's why I'm going to go over it again. But with 30 stitches an inch, I can be sure that I have gotten every strand. So when I do cut any kind of knit or loom woven fabric, I know that I've caught it all, and I'm not going to have it falling apart. So that's why I'm thinking the 1588 is a wonderful machine for yarn wovens or hand knits. Some of my Christmas stockings, I actually do the seams on them by machine, because stockings hopefully get overstuffed, and that way there aren't any gaps on the sides or anything. So the 1588 or a 237, but like I said, that's electric unless it's in a treadle. But this is a hand crank, and it will handle all those things. So this is going to be the machine for now, and I'm going to be making socks for fitness.